actually true that some people are just born bad at languages? I don't think so.
So, therefore, I would dismiss talent as an important consideration in language learning.
I can assure you that everyone can learn a language. I honestly believe that.
So the good news for you all is you've all got talent. Congratulations!
In the language learning space, we're often fed a comforting story. We're told that anyone can learn a language. There's no such thing as innate ability. It doesn't matter if you've always struggled with languages. You just need the right tools and methods and you can become a polyglot too. This outlook is encouraging and well-intentioned. It's designed to inspire you to try learning a second language, even if you've had difficulty in the past. I'm all for that, so if you'd prefer to continue living under this illusion, stop the video now. I'm going to take an impartial look at the science and dig out the truth. How much of language learning success is actually genetic? How exactly do your genes contribute to your language learning ability? Is it possible to overcome an innate disadvantage? And if so, how? Let's find out. Every individual is shaped by two factors, their DNA and their environment. These are often referred to as nature and nurture, but the environment is so much more than just how you were raised. It includes everything you've experienced in your whole life, from the conditions in the room right up to the video you're watching right now. Different traits vary in how much they're influenced by each factor. Eye colour is almost entirely genetically determined. The environment has very little effect, whereas intelligence and personality traits are more like 50-50. Which language you speak as your mother tongue is entirely environmental. Your genetics do not play a role. Trait heritability is a measure of just how much of a particular trait's variation can be explained by inherited DNA. A heritability of 0 means the trait is entirely environmentally determined, whereas a heritability of 1 means that it's entirely genetically determined. Most traits fall somewhere in between. For example, height has a heritability of about 0.8, which means it's 80% genetic. But how do we know this? Disentangling the influences of nature and nurture seems like an impossible task, but scientists have an elegant solution and it's called a twin study. Fraternal twins share about 50% of their DNA, just like regular siblings, but identical twins share 100% of their DNA. If a trait is heritable, you'd expect to see more similarity in identical twin pairs than in fraternal twin pairs. And if you accept that the amount of environmental factors shared by identical twins is the same as that of fraternal twins, then you can flip that around. If you see more similarity in a trait in identical twins than in fraternal twins, you can conclude that that trait is heritable. That's how twin studies work. They measure a trait in a large population of twin pairs, compare the differences between identical twins with the differences between fraternal twins, and use a simple formula to calculate the heritability. Now, language is obviously something you learn from your environment. Maybe some people pick up languages faster than others, but I would have assumed that second language ability was largely environmental. But astonishingly, twin studies have found the heritability to be around 70%, even as high as 72%. That means a person's ability to use a second language is more genetically determined than IQ or personality, and is fairly close to the heritability of height. One UK study on GCSE students attempted to break down this genetic influence into component parts. They found that around a third of it comes from general intelligence. Think of this as IQ. It helps you learn basically anything, including a second language. Another third of the heritable factors was shared with the student's first language ability. These factors give the students an advantage in both their first and second language. This phenomenon is well known. It's called language aptitude. And the final third of the heritable factors seem to be unique to learning a second language. There's even some evidence that the physical structure of your brain can affect your language ability. A study at the University of Leiden found that language aptitude is related to the number and surface area of transverse temporal gyri in the auditory cortex of the brain. So what if you're one of the unlucky ones? If you have difficulty learning languages, is it hopeless for you? I'm afraid so. You should probably just give up. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. I'm just kidding. Most of the heritability research has been done on time-restricted attainment during a language course. This doesn't necessarily tell us about eventual fluency. Also, heritability is a statistical concept that describes a trend in a population. It doesn't tell us what's possible for an individual. If you lose your legs and become 3 feet shorter, can you still say that your height is 80% genetic? Obviously not. Even if, on aggregate, 70% of language learning success is hereditary, individuals will vary widely in how far they stray from their genetic destiny, so to speak. And remember, the heritability essentially represents how overall genetically predisposed you are to learn a second language successfully, not just how good you are at it. For example, your motivation to learn a second language is a big factor in how successful you'll be. This motivation itself is likely also partly heritable, which could explain part of the heritability of second language attainment. Research has shown that multimodal experiences involving actions and images can help low aptitude people learn vocabulary, but have no effect on high aptitude people. This study found that they could somewhat equalize learners by using a virtual reality environment where you can grasp virtual objects while learning vocabulary. So if you struggle with languages, try integrating images and actions into your process. Recently, there's been a trend towards breaking down language aptitude into more specific measures. For example, implicit and explicit aptitude. You might find that you're better at one than the other, so you should play to your strengths. If you've had trouble learning languages through explicit study of grammar, try focusing more on listening and reading practice to let your brain pick stuff up naturally. But it's important to make sure that you choose content that's at just the right level for you, so that you can understand it but still come across new vocabulary and grammar. By the way, I created an app called Squeno to help you with that. Squeno has a vast array of illustrated stories based on realistic scenarios, current news and classic tales. These scale in difficulty with your level, easing you into the language but keeping you on your toes as you progress. Squeno even has a web browsing mode so you can use any content on the web, and it's transformed into your target language at your level. If you're interested, you can try it out at the link in the description or the pinned comment. In conclusion, the harsh reality is that life isn't fair. Some people have a much easier time learning languages than others, just because they won the genetic lottery. And if you pulled the short straw, there's no shame in it. You can't help your genetics and it's not over for you. Go at your own pace, try different strategies to find out what works for you, and keep up that motivation. If you struggled with language learning, share your experience and what worked for you in the comments below. It could really help someone in a similar situation. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get a notification when I post a new video. If you enjoyed this video, you might also like this one, where I explore whether Noam Chomsky's linguistic theories can survive the era of AI. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.